Ladies and gentlemen, this is the XFL.
Yes, this is another XFL podcast right here. I'm Kramer Sansone. We're going to do a quick little recap of what happened in the Weeks 2 action of games. We'll start that off now. On Saturdays, the product really wasn't at its best. The Guardians lost to the Defenders 27-0. Cardale Jones looked like a really good quarterback, actually. Having went 23 for 37 with 276 yards, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. Rashad Ross, 4 receptions, 95 yards. Matt McGloin was completely dreadful and awful as the reason why he's not in the NFL anymore. And he had a lot of things to say, and it's honestly, I wouldn't expect this to happen, but this was Matt McGloin after an interception.
Led to the interception.
Yeah, just a poor decision on my part. Hey, we got to continue to push forward here. It's only a one-score game.
A lot of self-inflicted wounds. You seem to have a hard time getting in a rhythm on offense. How do you fix that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you got to continue to push forward. Operate the plays that are being called, it starts with me.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, thanks.
All right, so that was a reasonable response to those interceptions and picks because, you don't really want to say as much as you want to the media because it's an interception, of course. You have to, get rid of that. Okay, that happened. Let's move on to the next play. Yes, I know I'm over here sitting down watching the rest of the game, but I got to figure out how to improve myself. This was also in the first half, and it just didn't get any type of better for McGloin through another interception, and this is what he had to say going into halftime.
This team needs to do on offense to get something going here?
We need to change the whole entire game plan at halftime.
Okay, what do you need to change about the game plan? What are you frustrated about?
There's just a lot going on right out now. It's embarrassing for us here as an offense, so a lot of things we want to fix and correct.
Thanks.
Wow. Changed the entire offensive game plan.
Now that he said it was embarrassing what he said about changing the entire offensive game plan. If you're a quarterback, yeah, you can hear what the coach is saying to you in your helmet before the play clock or whatever gets cut off between the coach and the player. So if you don't like the play and you see something different, change it on the fly. You have to at least know when to change it. Because if the defense already reads what's going to happen, this is going to be a deep fly route. He's going to throw it over to the right side of the field. If the defense already reads that, and you could see that as in their mentality or their posture when they're up on the line getting ready to go towards them. If you're a quarterback in the league, you should know, okay, I think they do know what I'm about to do coming up next, so I need to change it up. Matt McGloin has the opportunity to do this at any time, at any point, because he has the football in his hand. Yes, it may start a conflict with his coach, but him saying that going into halftime is the biggest conflict that they could actually put together. Maybe the coach didn't hear this until probably later on in the day as one of the offensive coordinators or whatever it is said, hey, this is what Matt McGloin said about this. We need to change this entire thing up. Why don't you go ahead and bench him? Because that's exactly what happened. And this was Matt McGloin going into the fourth quarter as things just weren't as great as him. This was him on the sideline.
There's some issues going on. What stands out to you right now in terms of how this play calling is going?
Yeah, listen, there's a lot of stuff going on behind closed doors. I think we need to clean that up. Communication especially is one. And it showed today. Just at no point in time that I think we were comfortable out there. At no point in time that I think we were in a position to try to be successful. So I think it was pretty easy to see.
That's another jab at that offense, at the entire team. They did not. That's not just the quarterback saying something to his coach. That's the quarterback calling out everybody on offense. That's how I hear it. That's how I think this is how it's played out. Matt McGloin, if you keep on acting like this, you are not going to stay in the XFL for long because when you already know the teams have already heard this audio and they probably already said, okay, if you have trouble or if you have some, anger management, I don't even know it. Do not burst on the scene. Yes, that's what all these cameras are for the XFL. They want to get you in close and personal. But I think they got a little bit too much with Matt McGloin. It's good for the product if you're an average fan watching it and you hear a quarterback being all boo-hoo or yay-hey or calling out a team like exactly what happened with Matt McGloin. It's good for your average viewer. But if you're trying to start a business this way and your poster child is Matt McGloin, who had a decent first half in the first week of the season, say the Guardians get rid of you. You're not going to be picked up by any type of other XFL team. You can just kiss that goodbye because they do not know what you're going to say while you're being interviewed. Because that's probably the number one thing. Say he gets cut by the Guardians today and ends up being on the Vipers, who desperately need another quarterback. They they're going to ask him, are things different, things changed? And he's probably going to say, I don't know. I haven't even played a game yet. But that's probably one of the biggest factors if, say, they do cut Matt McGloin, which is kind of interesting how there's always these transactions going on in the XFL. Let's go off to the later on that Saturday slate. They had Tampa Bay Vipers losing to the Seattle Dragons. It was final score of 17-9. Vipers offense sucks. Cornelius and Fowler combined to 3 interceptions. Fowler's pass was intercepted and returned for a touchdown. The bad thing about it is the defender, it only took him about a yard to get in there. Now, that's impressive. He literally was about to go for a sack, but he ended up with a pick six. I think I prefer the pick six more than the sack, but it's always fun to, jump up for the ball if the quarterback's trying to pitch it high. Yeah, 17-9. It really wasn't a good game. Seattle, they didn't just ball out. I think the fans balled out more than the actual Dragons itself. But Saturday's games were not good at all. Now, the Sunday's game were a lot better. The first game that led off was Dallas Renegades and the LA Wildcats. Dallas defeated the Wildcats 25-18. We were probably expecting Josh Johnson to go off. He really didn't. He actually played like an average. He probably played like the fourth best quarterback in the XFL. Bob Stoops gets his first win. The Wildcats could not stop the run. Cameron Artis-Payne had 99 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Lance Dunbar looked really good. And Landry Jones had over 300 yards passing, which is the first XFL player to go past that 300 yards mark. He is the poster boy. This is what they're supposed to have through Landry Jones. Yes, he couldn't play last week because of a knee injury, but he's back out there. It was good to see a former quarterbacks in the NFL go at it because we saw Josh Johnson was a part of the Redskins organization towards last year, and he was getting looked at by the Detroit Lions before the XFL blocked that agreement of what was going on. But it's actually very good to see Landry Jones and Josh Johnson go at it. 2 NFL quarterbacks. It worked out great. The first 3 quarters were completely impossible to watch. It was not good at all. It wasn't great football. But that fourth quarter blew up, and that's what the final score ended up 25-18. Now, the game of the week, which was played on prime time, of course, on Sunday, the Seattle Battlehawks and the Houston Roughnecks, 28-24 Houston. P.J. Walker, probably the best quarterback in the XFL right now through 2 games. At 170 yards throwing, which 170 yards isn't that much, but he did have 3 touchdowns. Now, Jordan Tiamu, he's probably the second best XFL quarterback in, the XFL, of course. He had 284 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. One of the interceptions was a complete BS call because there was an offside that did not get called, and he thought it was going to be a free play, so he just lobbed it up there, interception. 5 plays later, the Roughnecks get a touchdown. It was very interesting to see this quarterback play because 9 different players on St. Louis had a reception, and 8 different players on Houston had recorded a reception as well. So you really can't pinpoint or predict which wide receiver's going to get the ball that much because they're just floating it around the field, and it's mostly slants. I've seen a lot of slants, a lot of short catches that end up going for a lot of yards, kind of like a LaDainian Washington touchdown, which was a 2-yard reception that ended up being, I believe, 46 yards to the house. A great block by Marcus Lucas on that in order to get him free up to the touchdown. But there's a lot of receptions going on the entire XFL that are very short, except for the Nelson Spruce play in the Wildcats game where Josh Johnson just literally threw it up in the air, and Spruce caught it perfect. We need some big balls, big playing in the XFL, and I think we're going to see that a lot with the 4 teams that played on Sunday between the Renegades, Wildcats, Battlehawks, and Roughnecks to put those in fruition. Now, my overall thing, I did enjoy the turnout of games. The Dragons fans, they were dressing like dragons out on there. They looked like they were having fun. There was a cup snake on the Defenders game that was ridiculously long. I think the longest I've seen was the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field. The fans, which I can't stand the Cubs, they had their little cup snake going, but this cup snake for the Defenders reached, I believe, 40 rows, it seems like. It was impressive, and they need some more crazy fans like this because people are paying for tickets or paying for season tickets. I think this reach for the tickets being sold out that much, too, for fans enjoying this is because they know there's going to be at least more than one season going to be with the XFL, so why not invest? Why not go out to watch games? Because it's a fun time, cheap, get a drink with your friends, watch some football. But for this league to stick around for that 1 to 2 years is they need to have good quarterbacks. And there's a lack of solid, dominant quarterbacks in the XFL. I wouldn't even say dominant yet. There are good quarterbacks in the XFL, and you can just name 3 right now with P.J. Walker, Jordan Ta'amu, and Cardale Jones. Cardale Jones still has yet to lose a football, I wouldn't say professional football. Yeah, he still has yet to lose a professional football game that he started. He's 2-0 right now. He never lost a game in college at Ohio State. Yes, he came in, I believe it was he played for Buffalo. He came in, but he didn't start. He ended up throwing an interception. I believe they ended up losing that game. But there's a lack of dominant quarterbacks. Matt McGloin is completely awful. There's a reason why he's not in the NFL anymore. Even as a backup, there's a reason why for that as well. Look at that. Brandon Silvers, not the greatest. He was even in the AAF. He didn't even start in the AAF, but he's starting in the XFL, which is weird. Another quarterback, Josh Johnson. He was in the AAF, went to the Redskins, now in the XFL. Didn't really have a decent. He had an all-right average, below average game in his first game with the Wildcats, but it's just you got to see some more of that. I don't even know who the actual Vipers quarterback is. It seems like it changes every other week. It was Aaron Murray week 1, and you can see why Aaron Murray was out of the NFL in a heartbeat. It's just you got to have good quarterback plays. And I'm not going to say that there's going to be some NFL players thinking, okay, I'm going to jump ship and go to the XFL, like, say, an Andy Dalton. I mean, that'd be kind of cool to see an NFL caliber quarterback to go jump ship over there, but it's not going to happen. It might. It's going to be odd to think how free agency works because, say, if some NFL players do not get a contract, because this year there's a lot of a deep pull in that NFL quarterback carousel going on right now that some people might think maybe the XFL is the right thing for me because I could easily, I have money, but I can get paid, a couple $1 million in the XFL and be the poster boy and probably have a lot of endorsements. They could be doing that. That's something that you can honestly throw out there and it possibly work. But I doubt it's going to happen. But there's a lack of solid, dominant quarterbacks, or even just quarterbacks in general, that are in the XFL. Now, it's even, if you want to even go back to the hard to find the good quarterbacks, what's about the receivers? You got to find that person that is the top target for each type of team. Because, say, St. Louis, DeMornay Pearson-L, I would say he is their best receiver. Last game, he had, I think of receivers as getting the targets, and he got those. He had nine receptions on 11 pass attempts for 50 yards and a touchdown. 9 receptions for 50 yards, not bad. You're going to go to Houston, Cam Phillips, who was all over the football field. He had 10 targets on his resume for this past game at St. Louis. He recorded 8 receptions, 63 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I would say that is a highlight player because, say, a guy like P.J. Walker can trust Cam Phillips in Houston. Wildcats, Nelson Spruce, I believe, had 2 receptions for over, I'm going to tell you, for all of his 89 yards. He ended up having 6 receptions, but he also had 2 touchdowns. So Nelson Spruce is probably their target in L.A. And you got to think Dallas, Donald Parham, had 11 targets. I think he's their tight end. He had 76 yards and a touchdown. And go with DC's DeAndre Tompkins, which was his pretty much breakout game, I believe. 92 yards and a touchdown on 9 targets. You got to think that you need to find those best receivers in the league and try to force feed us down our throats that, okay, DeAndre Tompkins, Rashad Ross, DeMornay Pearson-L, Cam Phillips, Nelson Spruce are the guys that we're going to be seeing on a daily catching those footballs because these are the playmakers. And the playmakers need to shine out and stand out for fans to be invested in players. There might be a lack of investment for a lot of people to understand that, okay, these guys, let's go with DeMornay Pearson-L. He's our best wide receiver on St. Louis, which I agree with, but I can also see the LaDainian Washington being that number 1 wide receiver for St. Louis. There's a lot of people in the league, and a lot of people do not know who to root for. Still, there's probably some people right now that are thinking, I don't even have an XFL team. It is playing perfectly right now, and I feel like I can easily get a team right now because it's only 2 weeks in. Nobody's going to even know. I could be a closet DC Defenders fan, even though they're 2-0. You can like anybody you want in this league. I mean, me personally, I'm torn between DC and St. Louis. One, because St. Louis is the closest XFL team, and that's probably where I'm going to go to an XFL game because it's the closest, and I honestly want to enjoy the atmosphere because St. Louis is going to be sold out in this Week 3 matchup against the Guardians because it's their home opener. They need to give us, they need to run plays through each type of player. That's going to be their number 1. I think they're already doing that right now. I really do. We're going to see a lot of DeMornay Pierce-Snell, Cam Phillips, Nelson Spruce, Don Pram, and DeAndre Hopkins between teams. I've yet to know who a good Vipers wide receiver is because it seems like the quarterbacks cannot throw to them, and when they do throw to them, it is dropped, and it is dropped to the ground. Even if it's like a 5-yard pass, they're going to pitch it out there, drop pass. That's what you're getting if you're seeing the Tampa Bay Vipers. That's the thing, and their defense is really good. They're the best defense in the XFL right now, which is odd to say. Worst offense, best defense. That's just how it goes. But week 3 action is going to be coming up soon. XFL's fun. I enjoy it. I'm going to keep making these podcasts. I hope you guys enjoy it as well. And whatever you catch this podcast on, whether it's on YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, drop it a like. Make sure you comment in there because let me know who your XFL team is. And yeah, this has been Kramer Sandstone with another XFL podcast. And I'm just going to end it right there. Have a good one. This is the XFL.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the XFL.